Dear God, as we gather today, open our hearts and mind to your words, and let the people hear your voice and not mine. Amen. Many people today reflect on the natures of the power and structures of evil and become depressed, because it often appears that the wicked thrive while the righteous endure suffering, and therefore that leads to feeling of depressions and self-doubt, and questions to oneself that does God still has the power to control over the world and its inhabitants? But if we see today, the answer is yes, according to Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 6 to 12. Habakkuk says, the person who lived by extorting others will surely experience the judgment of God. The background of Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 6 to 12 is rooted in Prophet Habakkuk's dialogue with God during a times of turmoil and injustice in Judah. This period was marked by political instability and the threat of Babylonian conquest. Habakkuk opens with a cry for justice, lamenting the violence and corruption in Judah. He questions God about why these wrongdoings persist and why the wicked seems to prosper. God reveals that the Babylonians will be used as instruments of judgment against Judah. However, God also assures Habakkuk that justice will ultimately be served and the wicked will face the consequences for their actions. If we see in Habakkuk chapter 6 verses 2 verses 6 to 12, we can see talking about the woes. It talks about 3 woes. And in verses chapter 6 to 8, it talks about the first woe, that is a warning to the extortioner. In this passage, the prophet speaks of the woes that will come upon those who exploit and oppress others, specifically the Babylonians. It emphasizes that their greed and violence will ultimately lead to their downfall. The idea is that while they may seem very powerful for a time, but their actions will bring about their own destruction, reinforcing the message that God will ensure justice prevails. So the first woe is the doom of the robbers, the thief, and the dishonest person, and the one who appropriates for himself that belongs to another. Therefore, in these verses 6 to 8, it clearly mentions that a man will reap what he sows. Evil's inherent tendency is to self-destruction. Again, if you see in verses 9 to 11, it talks about the second woe. The second warning, woe to the greedy and arrogant. The second woe deals with buildings. It deals with fortunes, structures on unjust gain. The second woe is a doom for the exploiters and extortioners. Those who get wealth by illegal methods feel the needs for security because they build their nest on some high secluded spots guarded by every security device available. So here the word nest symbolizes the arrogance of the Babylonian. They build their nest on high. The word on high symbolizes of invincibility. Metaphorical terms of the eagles here is the metaphorical term of eagle is used here. It says, for all the animals, the eagle seems more impervious to harms. Therefore, the eagle builds its nest on high and seems to reign as God over all that is surveying. Habakkuk saw the people of Babylon in this way. The Babylonian wickedness was so great that even the stones in the walls of the house and the woods in the beams will cry out against their oppressive techniques. Therefore, these verses emphasize that their greed will lead to the downfall, impacting not just themselves, but even their family as well. In verse 12, we can see the third woe. Third woe talks about woe to those who build on bloodshed. The third term builds on the first two and continues the ideas of people gaining wealth by unlawful and unethical means. The third woe is the doom of evils and violence. For Hebrews, destroying life is the greatest evil, but the actual setting of that in murder imposes a special burden. Here, the word crime literally means badness and perversity. The prophets repeatedly screams out against it. It consistently involves crime of social properties of or commercial nature. It is characteristic that can never be associated with the Israel God. This verse condemns the practices of constructing a city or society through violence and operations. It highlights the moral corruptions involving in gaining power or wealth at the expense of others. The use of bow emphasizes impending judgment for such actions, underscoring that the foundations built on justice will ultimately lead to destruction and ruin. It serves as a reminder that true prosperity cannot be achieved through unethical means. Reflection. Today, the pride, especially a feeling that we are above God, does not enable a people. Rather, arrogance takes away our dependence on God, leaving us to our own desires. Doing our own things without regard for God is a sure prescription for ruin. Security cannot be found in buildings. Security cannot be found in locks or in security system, but security is found in dependence of God. God is concerned with people. He cares for the needs of land, reaching down even to the son of Hamad, the lowest rung of society. The prophetic imaginations in Habakkuk invites us to envision a world where justice prevails, despite the overwhelming power of evil and corruption. Habakkuk dialogues with God reflect a deep yearning for divine justice and a belief in God's sovereignty over human affairs. These prophetic perspective challenges us to look beyond immediate circumstances and recognize those who exploit and oppress will ultimately face judgment. By vividly portraying the consequences of injustice through the woes, Habakkuk inspires hope and resilience among the faithful, urging them to maintain their integrity and trust in God's ultimate plan. In a world often marred by despair, this prophetic imagination serves as a powerful reminder that true justice is not only possible, but it is assured by God. Therefore, today let us encourage ourselves to actively seek righteousness and oppose wrongdoing. May God bless us all.